jump to it, give a background of what Midjourney was.
Yeah, Midjourney is an awesome company. I think before ChatGPT really took off, there was Stable Diffusion was the like big image generation breakthrough, where all of a sudden we're getting these pretty realistic images. Midjourney took that somewhat to the next level, and it's a very cool company started by a guy named David Holtz, who had a previously successful startup called Leap Motion, and he bootstrapped Midjourney, so has never raised any venture capital. And I've only used it a little bit. It's a product that you actually access through Discord, which is a chat app, kind of like Slack or Teams, and you actually like pay for it all through that app. And it started out as very high quality image generation, and they have a really specific emphasis on just tasteful, artistic images. And it's almost an addictive interface. Like you go in there and you're creating these very cool images. It's a great creative outlet. And they've built an amazing business out of it. The last I saw, they're doing $500 million in annual recurring revenue, extremely profitable, has never raised a dollar of outside funding. And so I think I saw it was about a year ago or a year and a half ago, the founder, David, was showing up in these interviews talking about like, be kind of cool. We're really successful here. If we could build up a medical imaging lab, basically. And then last week, they have this announcement that was totally kept under wraps where they're announcing Midjourney Medical. So, Praveen, I don't know if you have any of the website to pull up. And this is like, I don't know, people are saying it's a pivot. I don't even think it's really a pivot. I think they truly just are making so much money that this is a new business that they think is interesting. And they presented this concept of a Midjourney scanner, which is, they're calling it, I think, ultrasonic computed tomography. So they're doing like a full 3D reconstruction, not quite whole body, but almost whole body scanning, where you stand on this platform and it lowers you into a tank of water that's surrounded by ultrasonic emitters and sensors. And then they try to reconstruct your 3D anatomy. Their plan is to deploy these in spas, and they're starting to build the first spa in San Francisco, where they want to have 10 of these scanners. And they're saying that like the scan is very quick. I think it takes maybe a few minutes right now, but they want to get it down to under a minute. And with that, they'll be able to like approach the volume of MRIs with just the single spa, could do as many MRIs as are done in the entire US. The goal is to get people doing these scans much more regularly, more so than even people that are getting just kind of annual full body MRIs today. So yeah, that's the background context. I don't know, Praveen, anything I missed there along the way?
Oh, yeah. No, it's amazing. Before we go further, so Neil, what would be the implications of something like this in GI? What if this technology were to be available? It will be. If you're getting whole body ultrasound imaging, what can you do as a doctor?
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, I agree. I don't know much about this at all, except for Matt's post. And so I think it's a brilliant, I want to call it initial side hustle by this company, because if they have the extra capital, the place to put it right now is in longevity, wellness, and healthcare. And by doing this, by eventually putting these into spas, that's where people are leading towards, right? Especially in parts of the country, you have this huge push towards longevity medicine, a little more than just direct primary care. People want to know what can they do for themselves in 5 years as a patient, not what they can do for themselves now. And just getting a blood pressure, cholesterol, A1C read is not sufficient to our future consumer, our future patient. They think that's almost too late. They want to know what's going to happen in 5, 10 years from now. And these whole body scans or multi-cancer early detection testing, that's where this market is going to really, really explode. And I think it's brilliant on the part of Midjourney to venture here, because I can see quite a few clients they're going to have in terms of not only large wellness clinics, but also individual, consumers. So that's my initial take. I think that's really cool, very interesting, and there'll be a huge need for it, or demand for it.
Well, they're going to deploy 50,000 scanners, they say, over the next 6 years. That means that translates to 1 billion full body scans every single month. And that world doesn't exist as of today. Matt, you had a bunch of things to say, and you said you had exchanges with Midjourney's CEO. Like, so you posted on Twitter, like, so what's the point you're making?
So, yeah, so when the news of this first came out, it was kind of an interesting story arc on Twitter where the tech world was pretty effusive with praise. Just like, this is the coolest thing ever. We need more technology like this. We need more technologists that are deploying their own capital into healthcare and taking big swings. And then pretty quickly, the physician community on Twitter got very vocal with pushback that, like, one, ultrasound is never going to be a true MRI or CT replacement. And I think there are like real physical limitations where ultrasound has trouble penetrating through bone and dealing with propagating through air, like in the bowels. And I think these are legitimate points. But then the bigger concern was, well, if we start scanning everybody every month, we're going to find these incidentallomas and it's going to overwhelm the healthcare system and people are going to get over biopsied and over treated and we're actually going to cause net harm. And so there was this like locking of the horns on Twitter between the tech community and the physician community. And so I had my what's now my most viral tweet ever, where I kind of feel like viewing this as a replacement for MRI or CT is missing the point. And what I actually view this as is a brand new imaging modality that is a great way to capture high dimensionality data. And what I mean by that is data that contains a lot of information and it's variable from patient to patient or even over a series of time. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of video data in general, and this ultimately can be captured as video data. And rather than looking at this as like a new way to screen for cancers in the way that we're used to, so like I wouldn't think of it as a replacement for getting a colonoscopy or getting a Cologuard. I look at it as just a new way to measure the human body. And what I like about this approach is that they're deploying it into a setting of a spa where they're going to get people that have disposable income and are interested enough to just pay for this data capture. And what I actually recommend is in the early days, they shouldn't even necessarily tell the patient that much about what it means. It's just interesting data. I think they're going to look at body composition early on and fine. It's like not that clinically relevant. But if you start doing this over millions of patients, eventually billions of patients or billions of data points, I think it's very rich data to mine for predictive signals about patient health that we're not even thinking about today. And that's the piece that gets me really excited. You know, if you get people just doing this regularly when they're young and healthy, can it start to detect when they're at risk of some change in their health? And it's funny because when I was starting Virgo, the other idea that I was thinking a lot about was, could you get an MRI that was, it might be low fidelity and low strength, but could you actually get some imaging modality that was easy enough to run that you could put it in your house? And the idea I always came back to is like, what's something you do basically every day? Take a shower. So could you actually build this imaging modality into your shower? And so when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly it. You're basically taking a bath while you're getting a scan of your body. And so the spa is great, but could you actually put this in someone's house? And like, you know, there's Brian Johnson, who's got the Don't Die project and Project Blueprint. Like, he would probably pay to put one of these in his house and do it literally every day. And I just think we're going to start to get really interesting signals about health if we measure this sort of data much more regularly than just, you know, going to see your doctor once a year or getting a colonoscopy every 10 years. So I thought it was really fascinating, and it spurred up some interesting conversation.